I invented a word, Mind Shui. It is so true. So anyways, that's my word, because really what that's going to do is going to bring that same
Mhm.
balance and clarity and energy to our mental space. Mindset Feng Shui. I thought that's pretty cool, right?
I love that. When you think about it, when we had somebody come in and rearrange some of the stuff in our house so that there was energy in when it comes to abundance or finances or clarity, in different areas of your home. What's up here in our brain is like if there's clutter, there's not clarity, and if there's not clarity, there's not decision making velocity. And so how cool would it be to have an opportunity to just look at all 7 areas of life and the mental capacity that we have and mind shui it. I just thought that was brilliant.
How's that breakthrough of genius? So Steffany, here we are. We're back.
We are. Hi, hon.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about? What was your big takeaway for the week? We spent a week with Lady JB Owen and her husband Peter, and it was cool. I got a ton. What about you? What'd you get out of it?
Yeah, well, it was beyond cool. It was like really, I think I really needed it. I needed a reset. I needed some sort of kind of regrounding in who we are, what we're doing. There's so much happened in the last 4 to 5 years that we've just been on, I think, on whether it's overdrive or autopilot or just full on redlining on a couple of different things. So many things changed in our businesses and our personal lives. And I think it was a really good time just to stop, get regrounded in what it is that, what we're doing and who we are.
Yeah, 100%. And important, like when you think about what we do in the world of supporting, in my case, supporting or doing my best to support a community and coaching, and you're doing the same, we got to kind of walk our talk, and that is that we are the center of our universe. It is imperative that we look after ourselves in order to have the energy, the insights, the creativity to look after those that are in our life, whether it be friends, family, our community, our clients. Ultimately, it's really important that we re-plug in, if you will, have a bit of a reset, although I think that word gets a little overused these days, but, really kind of reset and come back fired up, inspired, which I know I am. I am fired up. And of course, we get home from a great vacation, and then, life hits me square in the face with a cast iron. Oh gosh.
Oh man, I felt so bad today. Is that you were full on head to the office, and full on
Fight fires.
fight
Fires.
fires.
I was a firefighter all day, banking crap. Oh man, it just ate my lunch. Anyways, the end of the day, we came out. I got outside. I got some fresh air. I got some sun. I remembered to just breathe. I listened to a couple of great podcasts that got me cleared up again, and feeling pretty good. So we've
Yeah,
talked a lot about us. So,
we did.
we
We
should
did.
get on some kind of topic here. So no, I never did. Hold it. What did you get? Let's use some of your my lessons as a bit of an inspiration for the podcast today. What did you get?
Oh my gosh. I got how important just stopping and putting my feet in the dirt. Going hiking, we went to one really cool thing called the birthing cave. We went to something called the wash. And I just realized that, as much as we know and we think we got this handled, there's so much out there in the world that we don't know and that we can just step into and really learn and be present to things that, neither of us have a clue, right? And if we're going to continue to do this work, which I want to keep doing and keep sharing our gifts with the world, is that we do need to plug in. I need to put my feet in the dirt. I need to be able to, connect with you. I mean, we danced. It was really fun. And we ate every day. We ate healthy meals. We were outside. We
Walked.
connected with nature. We walked a lot. And it was really special.
Yeah, walked in the beautiful red earth. So it was pretty fantastic. And I think that, when I consider, there's a couple things that you said, we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. I find that when you're, it's so when you think about your clients, your skaters, one of the things that when you created the school, you and Patch Marie created the school, it was the realization that skaters, if you're the best in the country and you're the best in Canada, the best in Britain, the best in the USA, doesn't matter. If you're the best in any one of those countries, as an example, what's your benchmark?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know how you're doing? So what you guys said, well, why don't we bring everybody together, train all these countries together? Seemed like a wild idea, given that they were going to compete against each other. But then they had a benchmark outside of their bubble. They had a benchmark of other countries' best in the world. And all of a sudden they could see, oh, I got to jump a little higher, work a little harder, do a bit better. So they trained. So the point is that they have a benchmark, some place to aspire to achieve, or maybe a little bit of a fire lit under their butts to get to work, or work a little harder on days that they don't want. So I find that I have the same issue when I'm training. And that's, Juan, I go, dude, like, I don't know, where's my benchmark for being 66 plus years old? And, he of course always laughs at me and goes, you're in a whole upper percentile. And I go, great. I literally don't know that. And I don't know that I'm asking that from a place of ego. I'm more asking it because I want to make sure that, am I pushing myself to what would be considered pushing myself at this point in my age? Anyways, long story short, yes. Now, this is all a big, long, winded conversation about our week with our coaches. We don't know, in terms of coaching and in our own development, not in our coaching, but in our own personal development, individually and as a couple, we have no benchmark.
Yeah.
We have people go, you guys, how do you do that as a couple? You guys are amazing. And that's all cool. I take the compliment, but that's somebody that, maybe you've worked with or we've coached, or, it was, I don't know. It's just not a good benchmark in my world. Although it's very flattering, it's not a good benchmark. We're with a couple people that take benchmarks in terms of who they have worked with, and they have a definite relatedness, so they can say, no, we've worked with X, Y, and Z, and they're not even in your ballpark of their own development. They're still struggling to get to where you guys are in your understanding of yourselves and how you operate as a couple. So for me, that was very confidence boosting. Okay, we're on the right path.
I think so. I think hearing that and just knowing that we're still doing the work, we're still figuring stuff out, we're still, there's still some things we're operating on top of. There was some things in the last 5 years that, we weren't complete around. Conversations didn't fully get, had or fully fleshed out. And this week gave us the opportunity to do that. And what I think about when we do our shift program, or when we work with teams or couples or even individuals, is that time and that energy and that space to just be, with yourself and deal with the things that are going on in your life without all the TikTok and without all the stuff that's going on around in the news and all the, all the shit that's happening in the world. And for us, we just put a pause on it and just entered the conversation and hung out with each other. And we laughed, we cried.
We talked. Big conversations.
Big conversations. Well, some of the things that we were able to experience, for example, was the labyrinth. And a labyrinth is something that I've experienced in Japan and in China and different things, where you walk around and you think about something and then you unwind and just do this whole routine of things that just forces your mind to be quiet. That was really interesting. And then there was, of course, the hot tub. And then there was, the walking that we did in the desert. And things like seeing, cacti and things that were going on, wildlife that were happening, and just taking us out of our normal day-to-day was really, really important.
It was. Did lots of journaling. I actually painted for the first time. Watercolors.
You're amazing. You're a good painter.
Oh, yeah, I am. I'm unbelievable. Okay, so then I invented a word, but I want to So let me give you a context for that word because it's important, and so I'm getting used to it. Hang on here. Okay, so the whole conversation was, we often talk about mindset, but we look at what we're doing with the Everyday Millionaire podcast, and the realization is that often my guests are talking about a lot of the success that they gained and the stories that they share were their experiences. They're talking about how they did it in terms of the minutia of how they operate their business, but they share stories of their journey, and then they share stories of their own development and their lessons learned along the way. And when we talk about mindset, you start to pick up on nuances and the language words people choose, i.e., how I spoke this week, and what I learned about some of my bad habits of certain words that I use. I don't even call it bad habits, lack of awareness around those words. Anyways, we get to this point where we're having this whole conversation, and in my meditation and vision for what I came to, I started to realize that I'd come across the word Feng Shui. You remember what Feng Shui is?
Yes, of course. We've had a couple of different people come in and help us change the energy in our room and put furniture in different places in our house.
So it's all about that. It's all about energy. So Feng Shui, if you give it a basic kind of thought process, is it brings balance and clarity and energy to physical spaces. And I'm thinking to myself, well, really, it's when we think about mindset and when we break it down into the 7 areas of life, and when we're having conversations with people, we come to this conclusion that clarity equals velocity, and having clarity allows you to gain momentum and hence velocity because there's nothing in your way. Clarity, you're clearing the way. And that then got into my mind about energy, and I'm thinking Feng Shui, and that really we need to Feng Shui our minds. So I thought, gosh, that'd be kind of a cool metaphor or analogy or term, which would be mindset Feng Shui. I thought that's pretty cool, right? You reorganize your brain, you gain the clarity, you get stuff out of the way, you perhaps collapse some old traumas, all the things that we operate on top of. You become aware of ego. You organize all those thought processes in your head. You following so far?
Oh yeah, totally. Like mindset Feng Shui. I love that.
Mindset Feng Shui. It was really cool. And I thought, gosh, that's kind of a cool term. And then I'm expressing that to the crew. And what I tripped over was a word called Mind Shui.
I know. No, let me just back that up. So you were talking really, really fast and you were saying, okay, mindset Feng Shui. And all of a sudden you went Mind Shui. And I went,
Mind Shui.
That's it. That's what it is. It's Mind Shui.
Mind Shui. It is so true. So anyways, that's my word, because really what that's going to do is going to bring that same balance and clarity and energy to our mental space. So that's the point of it, is to encapsulate the work that we do and the conversations that we have. A lot of that is to create and set up your mind, your brain for how it fires. Call it Mind Shui. It brings that attentional alignment, if you will, to life, to how we think, realigning our beliefs or creating that kind of energetic flow, right through all 7 areas of our life. So I'm working on it. I'm kind of working through it, but I'm starting to like it. It makes sense to me. And that's all that really matters.
I know, right? I like it a lot because when you think about it, when, we had somebody come in and rearrange some of the stuff in our house so that there was energy in when it comes to abundance or finances or clarity, in different areas of your home. But when you think about your mind, like, there's still clutter up here. So I look at my office and I think, okay, it's better than it was before, but it's still clutter. And you think about what's up here in our brain is like, if there's clutter, there's not clarity. And if there's not clarity, there's not decision-making velocity. And so how cool would it be to have an opportunity to just look at all 7 areas of life and the mental capacity that we have and mind shui it, like really be mindful as to how we're going to think, how we're going to put our thought processes together, how we're going to use our language and be mindful around that. I just thought that was brilliant. I thought, mind shui is, if anything came out of this week in Sedona, it was mind shui.
How's that the breakthrough of genius? But
Right?
like really in my mind, it makes total sense because so many people are just blocked by their circumstances. We'll call it that. Their fears and their circumstances. There's a lot of internal clutter, whether it's unprocessed emotions because we've been angry at somebody forever, or we've been in love with somebody who doesn't know they love us, whatever the story is. What I'm saying is that there's all these unprocessed emotions, and there's a lot of old beliefs, old traumas. There's misaligned, call them habits and routines. And so my whole thought process with, when you think about Feng Shui mindset, the whole thing is that once your environment is set up, energy flows. Mm-hmm. And so to me, when I think about, water, if it flows the path of least resistance, and I think energy is that way too. In our life, energy flows the path of least resistance. But if your mindset's all messed or cluttered, you're going to get really stuck. So Mind Shui, I should say. Mind Shui, it's going to, the intent is to clear the mental clutter.
Yeah. And, it'll eventually roll off the tongue, like Mind Shui, like you made up a word. I mean, eventually that's going to get into the culture and the subculture and the nomenclature of our world, is that, when we think about it, we can be in charge of how we organize our thoughts and how we organize our mind. And I look at the athletes that I work with, is that they really understand the compartmentalization of the thought processes. And, when I walk back and think of all the things that I've done over the years, is that I might have been doing Mind Shui and not even knowing it.
Mm. Well, now I've in my brain, I've got a whole program I'm going to put together around Mind Shui. So
I'm excited.
More to come. I'll
take it.
It'll be lots of fun. And what else? I got back to my meditation. I got back to some things that I've been stepping over. Did some amazing journaling and really kind of cleared the space in my head.
And there was some weird, coughing thing that we both had. I mean, how weird was that, right? We're not sick, and all of a sudden we have this coughing thing going on. I don't know if it's chemtrails or what was going on down there, but
I'm sure that's what it is.
I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah, especially in Arizona. But it reminded me of we have the same issue with when we are, because we spend we go home to Alberta all the time. It's a little bit dry, and I think that's the biggest part of it is the dryness that we're not used to. I think maybe, I don't know, because like you say, it's not like we feel bad. We feel great.
No, I think it's also being aware too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that when we're going into different climates and different climate zones, is that we have to we probably drank between the four of us 5 flats of water. It was crazy. It was crazy how dry it is down there. So, and being mindful of that and making sure that we were, taking care of our hydration and our nutrition. And, it was fun. We didn't drink any wine. There was no drinking. There was nothing all week. It was so grounding. Nothing pulled us out of what we were focused on there to do, which was to commit to our relationship. Yeah, it was really fun.
We really just submersed ourselves in it, didn't we? And I think that was what, JB and Peter held amazing space for us. They are brilliant at listening and kind of pulling some really cool stuff out in a really neat way. And I really felt looked after the whole week. So it's good. I'm in a real nice feeling good buzz. I've got some clarity myself, which is going to represent velocity, and came up with my word. I'm early commitment to writing a book within the everyday millionaire space. Got 2 on my mind, so we'll give that probably a year, but I'm thinking that I'm going to take that on. I think there's a lot there to talk about and to share with listeners, create community, keep building the community within the everyday millionaire and Mindset Matters, and that will continue to be what we do going forward and growing that brand. So stay tuned, folks. we're gonna do some cool stuff. We've got some big plans for the Everyday Millionaire and Mindset Matters podcast and the work that Steffany and I are doing. Kind of cool.
It's really cool. And I'm excited that, before we got to Arizona, you're like, I don't got a book in me. There's no way I got a book in me. And all of a sudden we get home and you're like, I got 2 books in me.
Oh, yeah.
That was so fun.
I know.
I think
Okay. So what else are we going to talk about? What do you want to hit on? Anything else? The world is changing. Continues. We were a little bit dialed out of any kind of news for the week. That was a nice break. We came back. The world was still here. The sun continues to come up. Gold prices continue to go up. Shit continues to hit the fan. Consumer confidence continues to be beat up. It's hard to find something really promising economically. But when we look in our world and the fact that a lot of what we got going on are first world problems, as annoying as they are and frightening and confusing as they can be for many, there's still a lot to be grateful for. That's kind of one of my takes on it. What's your thoughts on that?
Man, I have to agree is that, we were pretty much, like I said earlier, we were redlining when we left. It's like, how are we going to keep doing this? What are we going to do? I mean, honestly, the economy is out of control. There's an election coming up. People are like, all of a sudden, Orange Man bad, and all the Canadians are worried about what is happening in the US instead of taking care of what's happening in our own country. Yeah. So there was a lot that I was super concerned about and really fired up about. And I'm thinking, well, what can I control in that? And I can't control any of that. All I can do is control my perception and what's going on for me, and how we can take care of our little corner of the world and be grounded in the truth. And the truth is that the politics is going to be the politics. You know what? And we're going to have to make the decisions that are going to happen, once this, this election in Canada, fleshes out. I just really hope, I'm just hoping and praying that people are not wanting the same outcome as we've had the last 10 years. And that's all I can hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a big election coming up. I think, really, when I think of, for me, I know that it was a nice break, given the fact that I'm always, knee deep or neck deep in what's going on economically, just by the nature of what I do within the real estate investment network. And even when I'm speaking, it does bring me down. It kind of bums me out. It's always looking at the dark side of everything, but having the path within that, knowing that within that path lies the opportunity, and why it's so important that we understand what's going on economically. So without taking it on, to your point, what can you control? We really can't control very much at all other than how we view the world. So perspective is reality. So change your perspective, change your reality. It's not meant to be cliche. And it is really the case, though, is it's important that we change our perspective, really, which is what we did this past week. And I think that also, allowed us the space to kind of relax, get clear, shed a little bit of weight that we didn't need to be carrying in terms of our mental. Because when we look at what's going on in the world, let's face it, it is messy out there. Here's my visual for it. Remember the old pinball machines?
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
And the ball bouncing all over. And then every so often you get like a double ball and a quadruple ball. And all of a sudden there's 4 balls going, ding, 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 they're just all over the place. You're getting all excited. And then you hit the side or you shake the machine and it tilts.
Yeah. Tilt.
And then everything shuts down. Well, I'm hoping right now that, somebody doesn't tilt the machine, because I'll tell you, there's at least 4 different of those steel balls bouncing all over the place and making a hell of a mess, and a lot of distractions, just a lot of drama, just a lot of distractions, and I'm not getting caught up in it. Very, very little, by the way. I look at the data and that's it. I don't get thrown off on what's somebody's ranting about on Twitter or on YouTube. So that's kind of where my head is at these days. So Canada's like a giant pinball machine. I just hope somebody doesn't shake it and tilt it.
Yeah, it's really something, when we look at our beautiful country and our, our resources and the things that we could be bringing to the world, and just how we're being suppressed on a couple of different levels. And it makes me really sad that people are not maybe considering what we have to bring to the world as a country. You know, we're the largest landmass, I think second largest in the world with the least population.
Yeah.
And we have zero effect, you know, on global warming or whatever they're calling climate change these days. And people are getting distracted and pulled out and orange man bad and thinking of all the elbows up or whatever all that stuff is. I'm like, just come back home. Just think of the gratitude and where we live and look around you and look at how much prosperity we've had in the past and how much gratitude that I have for living in, I swear, to the best country in the world. And regardless of what's happening in the political climate, if you take the time to be grateful to what we do have and what, you know, we can do, and, you know, go down the street and, you know, support your local grocery and support, you know, buy eggs from the local kid and, you know, just do what you can do to take care of yourself. You know, don't do this whole, you know, buy Canada because US are assholes. I mean, no, just think about it for a second.
Okay, well, I don't think I have really an opinion on any of that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I know what you do, but I don't, you know, my opinion is nobody else's business at this point. I think the reality of it is we've all got opinions. You know, as you said what you said, I heard every word and I thought, you're right, but you're a boomer. Go have that conversation with a 35-year-old or a 25-year-old or even a 40-year-old. And no, they're not looking at it through the same lens you are. So I think we have to be very cautious in our views of the world. And that's what I'm trying to be, is cautious. Because like you, I can have an opinion. I certainly will express a political opinion. But I think that before I speak in terms of how I see the world compared to how a 35-year-old sees the world, it's a very controversial topic right now, given the politics. Because...
Well, yeah, I get that, hun. I get that, but I also see that whether the demographic is the 30-year-old, the 40-year-old, the 50-year-old, is that they're also targeting, you know, the marketing towards that. And I think we have to be mindful of what we're listening to and how we're showing up and who we're showing up as. And I want to be able to hear the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, because they have different issues than we do. Like, are the 20 and 30-year-olds ever going to be able to afford a house? You know, is that ever going to be a thing going forward? Or are they going to be living in their parents' basement and, you know, working 3 or 4 jobs, or I don't know, living in the metaverse? We have things that are going on in our life that we can set the trajectory so that maybe, just maybe, the people coming after us aren't going to be struggling the way that, you know, it's being set up right now. So I just want to be mindful of that. I don't want to be ignorant to it. I don't want to be disrespectful of the generations that are coming behind us. But I also know that as boomers, you know, we've been blamed for a lot of the things that are happening right now. And I don't think it's, you know, it's not ours to take on. I think it's ours to continue to contribute and to make a stand for, you know, really helping the people coming behind us become successful and at least have some sort of future. And if the current, you know, political climate isn't going to set that up, then at least we can in our little corner of the world.
So as we wind down, here's my thoughts on all what you just said.
Okay.
A little Feng Shui, a little mindset Feng Shui, or a little Mind Shui, and you'll get that all handled and put together. That's what I got to say about that. It's always about how we view the world, how we look after ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, in all areas of our life. That's all I got. Thanks, Steffany.
That was fun, hun.